Well, good morning everybody. It's been a long time since I've made a video on this channel. Reason being is because though I don't really like TikTok as a platform, the amount of hits I get in an hour is more than what I get in months on here. However, I still thought I'll make a video here as well on this particular subject. Anyway, I'm in the Republic of Ireland. I'm visiting my son. He celebrated his 18th on Saturday. So during my visit, I was, just watching some YouTube videos on the way to Waterford from Dublin, and I came across this video. I shall show you the screenshot in a second. And it was a young lady, and she's a modern Egyptian, and she was talking about I'm trying to sum up what she was basically saying. She was talking about the ethnicity of the Egyptians, tying it with the Asian Egyptians and making a link between herself and the gist, some of it, she was saying that they are mixed race, a mixed race nation, part Black African, part European. That's the summary of what she was saying. She was saying like genetically sort of thing. Okay, right. So my response to that video. Now, I was saying that I wasn't saying that she's wrong in her analogy, but I was pointing out there was information that was missed out, which I notice is a common thread with a lot of modern Egyptians. There's areas of that subject they either purposely skip out or ignore, or hope that the unsuspecting public won't notice that they haven't covered. Because let's be honest, most people, and I say most people, are totally ignorant when it comes to subject of ancient Egypt. They believe what they've seen on Hollywood or what they've been told by most experts. I say that in inverted commas, most experts and so forth. So it's not their fault that there's a lot of things that they are unaware of, because it just hasn't been pointed out to them. So this resulted in a very long exchange in the comment section with me and this individual. And I was pointing out, look, there's data you're ignoring. And same with the young lady. I said, look, if you're going to talk about this subject, you can't present part of the story as the whole story. You've got to tell the whole story and include all the data. So I pointed out in my initial comment, right, I said, well, okay, as I said, I'm not saying she's wrong, but there's some stuff she's missed out. She hasn't covered the ancient Greeks and Romans account of what they saw as eyewitnesses. They described the ancient Egyptians as dark-skinned with woolly hair, right? So there's that account, right? Then you have the famous Sphinx that everyone knows of, with its overt African features. You can't ignore that as well. Then you got early pharaohs such as Nama, Huni, Djoser, Queen T, Tutankhamun, again with African facial features. Okay, so that can't be ignored. Then you got ancient Greek and Roman artwork depicting the ancient Egyptians as quote unquote Black Africans. When I say quote Black Africans, when you say black, to most people visualize one type of black person, which is a West African type. And it's not their fault, because they probably, if they're especially in America, NBA players, West African type, most musicians, West African type, most sports stars, 100-meter sprint and so forth, unless you're talking about the Olympics. But when it comes to most popular sport, would be the 100-meter sprint that most people would visualize. So most of them West African type, even though Afro-American, Afro-Caribbean, but the West African type. And then the politicians, especially in America and the UK, West African type. So when you say the word black, they think of someone who looks like myself, of a West African origin, forgetting or not even realizing that Africa has the highest diversity of phenotypes in the world. So the same way, as I've mentioned in other videos, the same way how an East African looks different to a West African, and a South African looks different to West African, a North African, yada, yada, yada. It's the same thing in Europe. You take a Greek, they look different to a Scandinavian or an Irish person, but they're all European. So it's the same principle. Someone from East Africa, North Africa, and so have a different look, but they're still African. So when I talk about ancient Egypt being of black African origin, or African origin, let's scrub the word black to not cause confusion. I'm talking about those who are from the East African side. Even if you talk about Nubians, Nubian looks still, and most Nubians look different to me. So even and it's well documented that ancient Egypt or Kemet originated out of Africa from the south. It didn't originate in the north like Europe or wherever and moved into Africa, as many people have you think. No, it started out. I came up from Nubia, hence why Upper Egypt is what we call the south, and Lower Egypt is what we call the north, and it originated from the south. The more of the interior of Africa and came up, so it's got an African origin. Again, this data is hardly ever spoken about. So this character now, he wanted to try to debunk everything I was saying to him. So he did the usual scam by, I wouldn't say misquoting Herodotus, but he partly quoted him. He said, "Oh, Herodotus said they had dark skin," and get a load of this. He was saying, "Oh, well, dark skin in the eyes of the Greeks would be like a modern Egyptian." Basically, someone would. So he was trying to tell me that olive-colored skin or tan skin would be considered dark to the Romans and Greeks. And I said to him, "You're clutching at straws here, right? For starters, Herodotus didn't only say that, right, which is dishonest on your side. He said that dark skin and woolly hair. Once I brought up the woolly hair, he now tried to change it to curly hair. I said, no, he didn't say curly hair. He said woolly hair, right? And I said, as for the dark skin, I said, the young lady in the video, if she robbed the bank with her tan skin, she would not be described as dark skinned. Compared to a white person, she has darker skin, but she wouldn't be classed as dark skin. I'd be classed as dark skin. Or the bust of like Tutankhamun in his brown face, that would be classed as dark skin. There's plenty of dark-skinned Egyptians out there, all right. So and who look different to me as well, and their hair is even a different texture, but still they are dark-skinned, right? So it's a bit of a reach to say that someone with olive-colored skin or tanned will be classed as dark skin. That's especially when there's darker skinned examples to go by. So that's a reach and that's a lie as well. So I had to pull him up on that one. Then what's the next one? He kept on moving the goalpost. Then what was the next thing we were crossing horns on? Before I get to the genetics. Yeah, so there's certain things he wouldn't. I kept on asking. Well, what about the ancient Greek and Roman artwork? And get a load of what he said. Now he gave some he gave some examples of Egyptian footballers who have woolly hair. Fair enough, but they weren't dark skinned. And I said to him, but they don't correspond with the Greek and Roman artwork. The Greek and Roman artwork shows Black Africans as ancient Egyptians. So, you know, the data has to fit. I'm not saying there was never ancient Egyptians who didn't look like Black Africans. Of course not. It was invaded numerous times, had a variety of people there. Of course they did. So yes, there was like Araby looking or modern Egyptian type in in ancient Egypt. But there's a reason why they are called modern Egyptians, because if the ancient Egyptians looked exactly the same as the modern Egyptian, then they wouldn't be called modern Egyptians. There's a reason why they're called modern Egyptians. Anyway, so so I said like, and his explanation was, oh, did Salah, that's his name, his surname, did he work all day building houses in the hot sun? And I said to my friend, you staying out in the hot sun all day doesn't make you look like an African. You either got the genetics that's going to make you look like an African, or you ain't. If you're a modern Egyptian or Arab type and you stay up there all day out in the sun, you don't suddenly develop thick noses and thick lips, full lips, and African features because you're in the sun. I mean, man, talk about a weak argument. He's trying to make out like the modern Egyptian type because they stayed out in the sun all day. That is the depiction of the Greek artwork. So anyway, so that went out the window. Then he started bringing up genetics. So I pointed out some genetics and the findings, like the Ramesses III had links with Central Africa and so forth, and I showed him a video of a guy who was a direct descendant of Ramesses III, an African American. Then he tried to discount the very thing he brought up. He said, well, genetics doesn't necessarily mean you look a certain way, people travel all over the place. I goes, yes, exactly. So that works both ways. So if genetics does not apply to quote unquote Black Africans, it also does not apply to Arabs, Levantine, Europes. It works both ways. He realized he got stuff with that one. Oh, and the other one, he was trying to misuse the word, the translation for the word black. I showed him a video on that. He tried to discount that one as well. I said, I said the guy in the video, he gave sources of where you could find the proper translation for the word black, what the Greeks were using. So the point being is, you know, I think it's very dishonest to skip data or ignore data and present part of the story as the whole story. Yes, I didn't, as I said before, I wasn't saying that the woman in the video was wrong in what she was saying, but she just, I don't know whether she conveniently did it or whether she did it on purpose, but there's a lot of information she missed out. And yeah, and as I stated before, most of the general public are so uninformed, it's easy to fool them. There's a saying, which I'm going to leave you with. It's easy to fool most of the people most of the time, or you can fool most of the people most of the time, but you can't fool all of the people all of the time. Okay, thank you very much. And I don't know when I'll next be on this channel. I'm hardly ever on here. So if you do leave a comment and expect me to respond, I will respond, but it won't be a quick response. I'm hardly ever on this channel. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, bye. Oh, before I go, I forgot to show you the screenshot of the video that I responded to. So Here's a screenshot of the lady in question. Now, here is images that most, if not all, modern Egyptians tend to avoid. When they make overlays or facial reconstructions, they never, ever use these images. They always use the ones that either are modern Egyptian type and face, or Levantine or non-African, but they never ever use these images.